So ladies, I have another message for both of you, and I title this one, Waking Up. And it's taken really as a continuation or taken from some of the stuff that I talked about in a message that I'd sent to you about a month and a half ago titled The False Prophet. And in that message, you will recall that I'd said that America was some $30 trillion in debt and that we're running $3 trillion deficits a year, and that last year alone we had printed something like $17 to $19 trillion to hold everything together during this COVID nonsense. And I'd said that as a result of all of that and the fact that we still are not dealing with any of this, that we're most likely going to go through some kind of economic collapse, that it would be a depression, which would be the mother of all depressions, and the fact that we are at the very beginning of this now. And I ended it by saying, obviously, that in the midst of all of this economic chaos, that we would probably fight a war with China that we lose, and that as a result of that loss, that we would no longer be a sovereign country. But what I had not said in the previous message is what life would be like for us internally as Americans during this time, specifically after the time that we lose this war with China. So let me tell you about this. Once again, I do not give this message to you as a prophet. These are my opinions, but I feel nonetheless very compelled to tell you what I believe is coming. And this flies in the face of a huge amount of our so-called conservative evangelical churches, where the pastors and elders and deacons don't really have the courage to warn and prepare their congregations for what is coming. But here it is. I think that for many of us, the icing on the cake, the horror that will remain with us for the rest of our lives will begin not just with this depression and collapse that we're most likely going to go through here, but when we lose that war with China, or a combination of countries, but ultimately countries headed by China. Because I think it will be that war which will undo much of the preparations. Have been storing up gold and silver and food and ammo, and maybe they paid their mortgages off, maybe they have generators to maintain their power. Because I think from the time that we lose that war till probably the end of our lives, we will be occupied either to a loose or tight degree by foreign powers who will not, as a result, honor American civil systems, which of course, had they been intact, would have protected our preparation and our wealth even during a depression or a so-called economic collapse. I think that as believers, and specifically as pastors and elders and deacons, we need to begin preparing most likely for that scenario. And I'm being as honest as I can with both of you that the only way that you and I, because I'm going to go through this with you, are going to keep our sanity is if we do what Paul stated once again in Philippians 4 verse 12, that we learn to be content in all situations. And once again, I repeat myself, we learn to be content in all situations when we learn to make Christ our bedrock, because I think that will be the only thing that will keep us from screaming. This will be a lifelong sickness that we will bear, and it's going to fly right in the face of the health and wealth gospel, right in the face of pastors and elders and deacons who do not have the courage to tell their parishioners what's coming, who care more about growing their churches and maintaining their membership rolls than they do faithfully preaching the word of Christ. So my request to both of you, and it's with an ever-increasing urgency, is to wake up and begin preparing for what's coming. God bless you both.